Hey everybody, this is Trevor and you are on my channel, Social Dilemma. So thank you for coming here. What do we got this week? Holy smokes! We got some stuff brewing down here in Canada. Or brewing up, depending on wherever you're living. I want to talk about property rights. And I'm just kind of looking at I just got some notes in my hand right here. I like to refer to some things sometimes, from time to time. And here in Canada, we have a man. He is David Lametti, and he is our Minister of Justice and the Attorney General for Canada. And he's a Liberal. He's in Justin Trudeau's cabinet. And he has come out in the last several days to say something that a lot of people are just up in arms about. They're really not happy about what he has said. And I'm going to actually agree with him, and I want you got to stick around, and you're going to listen and find out why. Okay, so he has come out to said, you do not have an absolute right to own property. That's a quote from the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General for Canada, the Liberal MP David Lametti. So I'm going to read that again. He has come out to say, you do not have an absolute right to own property. Okay. Now, people in Canada, probably around the world, who've heard this gentleman say that, are they're oh, that's not right. That's not right. Well, I'm not gonna. It's kind of yes and no. It's right because listen to this. When you submit to a government, when you submit yourself, your authority to a government, you are allowing a group of people to control you. By de facto, a government controls you. You allow them to run things. They make constitutions, laws. Sorry, not constitutions of pro. They'll have a constitution. They'll have laws. And they will tell you how it's going to be. Okay? And so let's talk about property. There's two things in the property I want to talk about. First of all, let's just talk about property when it comes to like your home, your car, clothes, whatever. Inanimate objects. You tell me, no one owns their home. Absolutely no one, at least here in Canada, owns their home. Why? Because first of all, you pay property tax. Okay, and if you do not pay your property tax, you'll get some nasty letters from the bank saying, come on, somebody, the city, the local government is going to send you letters. Eventually, they're going to send someone out. And they will send perhaps lawyers out or whoever they're going to send, but they will also send police or someone with a gun to come to your home to forcefully get you to pay your taxes or to kick you off, the property to which you think you own. So right there, paying property tax, that means you don't own your home. And let's add to that as well, eminent domain. Now, if the government, if somehow they find out you have oil or uranium or something of value to the government underneath the home, the land to which you think you own, they will have eminent domain. And they will take your home. And they will offer you what they deem is a fair market value for your home, which may or may not be attractive to you. And it may not be attractive to you in the sense that perhaps this home you were born in, you've lived there all your life. Maybe your parents owned it, and now you have it. Maybe it was a childhood home. Maybe it's a brand new home that you just don't want to give up. You want to live there. You're not interested in selling. Again, the government I would hate to think what they would do. I've never heard it go that far in Canada where a person has said, you're going to have to forcefully remove me from the home. I don't think it's ever come to that because government will use whatever means necessary to get you from that home. First, they will bait you with, the financial reward of selling us your house. Perhaps they jack that price up a little bit, but they will take your home. So it's true what the Minister Lametti has said, okay? You don't have an absolute right to own property. Just by those two things right there, property tax and eminent domain. So let's, something else I want to talk about in the terms of property. And I think, so there's your property in terms, and even here in Canada with gun ownership. We don't have the right to bear arms in Canada. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms, any kind of constitution that we have in Canada says that it is a privilege to own a firearm. And a firearm is a piece of property. So there again, Mr. Lametti's right. We have given up our right to bear arms to own the property of a firearm. So he's right there, isn't he? Do you really own a car? I mean, you have to pay car insurance. You have to have license plate on there. You have to have the correct stickers on the plates so that when the police follow you and see that, oh, your sticker is a month behind, there's an excuse to pull you over. You don't have a right to barely own that. You have to have a driver's license. You have to have permission to drive that car. You have to have so much permission to have the car. He is right. So you look at the major things that you have in your life, like your house and your car, and you don't even own that, really. You don't own them. And I would like to talk about the most ultimate, the highest form of private property, which is oneself. You and myself. I am the highest form of private property. I should own myself, okay? I know it's kind of a strange concept to think about as yourself as being private property, but you are. And if you don't own yourself, then who owns you? I guess from what David Lametti's saying, and it's true that we don't even own ourselves. Okay, for the simple facts of property tax, eminent domain, taxation alone. Don't pay your taxes. I guess, you'll find out how long you own yourself. So technically, yes, we are slaves to the government then. That's what I've come up with. We have to be a slave. If you don't own yourself, okay, and you are the highest form of private property there is on this planet. Okay, the next thing you want, obviously I've mentioned the house and the car and everything else that you have. That's people will be like, oh yeah, they'll debate. But this concept of the ownership, self-ownership of the human being, that is the highest form of private property. So I guess, David Lametti came out and said it just the way it is, isn't it? You don't have an absolute right to own property. Now they're being all tricky and stuff, but they're thinking, houses and cars and firearms and whatnot. But just think about yourself. Do you own yourself? Do you have? This is where natural law and government law are in conflict with each other. And I think, personally, if you need government laws to be a moral and ethical person, what would you be without government laws? You'd be then like the character Negan from Walking Dead or something. Like, if you can't live a moral and ethical life without government laws, and then you need help. And I do think that probably a couple percent of the population are like that. But I do believe most people, you go anywhere. I was just in a carnival this weekend, thousands of people. And it's like anarchy there, like nobody was hurting each other. Everybody just living, and that's how most people want to be. So, I got to, so private property, the ownership of oneself. Um, I mean, you're really not free to own any land. You're not free to own a car, tools for self defense, and in Canada they're becoming a. I mean, Canada firearms we're told they are for hunting and sport shooting, and it's becoming increasingly harder to hunt with and sporting event, sport shooting, going to the gun range, that owning that private property becoming increasingly difficult. And again, Justin Trudeau, just to talk about the guns, is come October of this year, 2022, handguns you won't be able to buy or do anything with handguns in Canada, and they're locked up in safes, private property. So again, yeah, this Lametti, David Lamenti's absolutely right. If you're living in Canada, you don't have an absolute right to property. In the yeah, you don't. And but what I would really like to point out is, where does this, where does it fall in the human being? Where do you fall in this? If I don't have an absolute right to myself, my private property, me, then I guess that means that we're slaves. So David Lametti, the Minister of Justice, Attorney General in the Liberal Cabinet, Federal Cabinet of Canada, you're right. You're right, Mr. Lametti. You're living in Canada as a Canadian citizen living in your tax farm here. We don't have, I guess we don't even have the rights. We don't have rights. So it's very sad, yet it's very almost a truth what he's saying. So ask yourself this question. Do you feel like you have private ownership of yourself? Do you? Something to think about. With governments like this here in Canada, I mean, they're coming right out and saying you don't have the absolute right to private ownership, private property. And you are the highest form of private property. So think about that. If you're living in Canada, think about that. If you're not living in Canada, well, hey, think about it in terms of where you're living. Start asking these questions. Do you have private ownership of yourself? And go through a list of things that you have to do on a daily basis as an adult to get permission from other adults on how to live. From home ownership, cars, running a business, education, your health care. Yeah, we found out in the last 2 years you really don't have private ownership of yourself when it comes to health care, do you? No, you don't. No constitutions seem to help us there. I guess those pieces of paper really didn't mean anything in the last since March 2020. Just so many things. Think about what your daily life is about. Whatever your job entails, just whatever you're doing in life. Do you have private ownership? What do you have private ownership of? I don't even hardly know anymore. We don't seem to have private ownership to our life. So that's the saddest part when you think about that. So, all right, everybody. I hope my rantings and ramblings are hopefully of some help. So just trying to enlighten everyone. Open up your minds. Not everyone. Just open up whoever is listening. Just consider yourself to be the highest form of private property is you. Okay? I am the highest form of private property, me and you. And if we can't own ourselves, then who does? Okay, everyone, stay free, and we'll talk to you later.